Ardbeg, a distillery that's polarized more people than Donald Trump. A distillery with more fanboys than Pornhub. A distillery with more expressions than Jim Carrey on ecstasy. With expressions smokier than an overworked crematorium. A distillery that's given birth to more flippers than SeaWorld. Their secondhand bottles are more expensive than Justin Bieber's used underwear. This is the 2022 Fish Isle Committee release, the Ardcore. What's up, lovers of whiskey and watchers of YouTube? Welcome to the channel. How's it going, everybody? You guessed it, we have with us the whiskey we've been waiting to review for a very, very long time. The Ardbeg Ardcore. Oh, damn, son. We finally got our hands on it. It arrived late last night into my hands, and here we are. There you go. The real deal, the Ardcore committee release for the Fish Isle 2022. I can't wait to share this with you. I've drunk it, and let me tell you something. It is probably the most unique Ardbeg I've ever had in my life. In a bad way? No, I think in a pretty good way, but I jump ahead of myself. So before we begin, I just want to give a warm welcome to first-time viewers on this channel. Thank you for tuning in. I know you're interested in hearing about the Ardbeg Ardcore, which is why you're here. But man, if you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, you know, every time I post something about whiskey, you'll be notified. It'll help grow the channel. And all the good things will happen. To all those who are returning, who are waiting for me to get my hands on this, well, you don't have to wait anymore, because we are here. Okay, what do we know about this whiskey? Interesting. First of all, I like the theme. The theme for this year is punk, metal, rebel, whatever you want to call it. That's why the whiskey is called the Ardcore. Cool name. I love the names they give their whiskeys, man. It shows that they're not taking themselves too seriously, even if they're part of this huge LVMH conglomerate, which, capitalism. But you know, the people at the distillery themselves, oh my God, they're so amazing, so nice, so warm, so welcoming, and most importantly, fun people. You know, Try visiting Ardbeg on Ardbeg's open day during the whiskey festival, and you'll see for yourself. Man, it's so much fun. It's chilled out. Nobody takes themselves seriously, and I love everything about that day, and everything about that distillery is represented in that day, believe me. And I think it also kind of represents in these cool, funky ideas that they do. And you know, they don't take themselves seriously. Ardcore. Who would have thought, you know, punk and single malt Scotch would go together? But it does, and you know, it is what it is. It's super fun. So this year's committee release called the Ardcore, and there's something very interesting about this whiskey. But before we get to that, I just want to share the label with you. It's a cool looking label. See that? It's got little like biting, what is it called? Like biting a spiky ball. Did it really say that? Yeah, it says that. It says like biting a spiky ball. I mean, who writes stuff like that? It's cool. They have these. Hey, there you go. There's I think a Scotty the dog. I think that's what his name is, and he's got this really cool like this punk afro thing. Not afro. This, you know, the punk thing going on. What is it called? Oh, shit. What's the thing called? The mohawk. The mohawk is going on. And he has a spiky ball in his mouth, which is like kind of cute. There you go. Can you see that? Yeah. And what else do we know? It's bottled at 50.1% ABV. I don't know if that's cask strength. It's a weird cask strength to be at. No, I'm sorry. It's not a weird cask strength to be at. If it's watered down to 51.1%, then I think it's a weird number to water down to. I don't know why they chose the 0.1%. But I don't think this is cask strength, so it has to be watered down to 50.1, which is interesting. Okay, but whoa, what sets this whiskey apart? That's the main question, right? What sets this whiskey apart? And that you'll see back here is black malt. Black malt. Now I knew what black malt was, and I just thought it was used for dark beers, right? And which it primarily is. So basically black malt starts off as regular malt, right? So it's quite fair and it's not dark at all. But then it's put in a roasting drum, right? And then heated up to like 230 degrees Celsius. And then for like 4, 5, 6 hours, it's put in a kiln. And then it's roasted at the bottom, right? And this is what they did to this particular malted barley. They put it in a roasting drum and then they put it in a kiln for 4 hours and until it turned absolutely black, right? And they had to take it out on time, otherwise they would have just charred and just disintegrated and evaporated. So they took it out and then they basically used that to distill spirit, which is fantastic. I think it's a cool ass idea because the thing with black malt is you can't use a lot of it when you're brewing beer, right? Because it has a very, very, very strong taste of bitter chocolate. It's quite acidic apparently, and so it's quite charcoaly as well, thanks to all the roasting and the kilning. And it's primarily used for color. So you can expect, porters or stout to have about 10% black malt, and that kind of makes the entire malt super black, right? So imagine how strong that is. And if you want to add just a little bit of color in some beers, you can add about 1 to 3% of this black malt as well. And sometimes it even gives off a reddish hue. Now, but I believe it's the first time that any whiskey distillery has said, you know what, we are going to use black malt to distill our spirit. And I don't think anyone else has done it. Ardbeg is claiming that they're first ones to do it, so I guess I'll take their word for it, and which I think is cool. I like the fact that they experiment at this level. I mean, they must have done this about 7-8 years ago. I'm guessing that's how old this whiskey is. I don't think it's much older than that. Of course, there's not enough literature out there for me to find out. Could be 9-ish. Could be 9-ish as well, but I mean, it is what it is. But that's a cool experiment to do. It's a risky experiment to do, but I'm sure when they distilled their first batch from the black malt and somebody went and had a sip, they would have been like, okay, this is not bad. It's different, at least, but it's proper new make spirit. Let's put it in a cask and see what the fuss is all about. And we'll dig it up 8 or 9 years later and see. And so I guess that's what they've done, and they've come out with this very, very unusual Ardbeg. Very unusual, Good unusual, bad unusual? Let's find out. Here you go. Now I've drunk it. I've drunk a little bit, not a lot. There you go. That's what it looks like. So I'm thinking, maturation wise, vatting of first and second filled bourbon. Of course, just because the malt is black doesn't mean the spirit is automatically dark, because it doesn't work like that. The spirit will always be transparent like moonshine. But here's the interesting bit. Check this out. Unbelievable. This nose, when you first nose a run-of-the-mill Ardbeg, you get very familiar flavors and you're like, hey, this is an Ardbeg. But not with this. This one, man, the first whiffs. Charred bread, almost burnt bread, toasted wood, very, very ashy, dark chocolate, roasted coffee is very savory. And after a while, you get the lemon, lime, pineapple, but then the aniseed takes over. So hidden underneath these burnt toast, roasted coffee beans, dark chocolate nose lie the signature distillery flavors like the pineapple and the vanilla and the lemon and lime. But the onslaught, Yes, the onslaught is from that black malt barley that's been roasted and kilned. And so you get these super toasty notes, very roasty notes, you know? I would imagine, once a smoker is done, the one that you use to smoke meat in, and you take the meat out and then you put your nose in, and that's what it would smell like. Super highly roasted, but not super smoky or super peaty. Just, that roastiness, just everything is roasted. So I like the nose. I like the fact that, it has the signature Ardbeg aromas that I love, but at the same time, on top of that, it has this nuance, a unique, flavor profile that's come from experimenting with black malt. And dude, can't go wrong with that. I think they've done a really good job constructing this. The nose is really nice. I love the nose. Only because it offered me something different, a bit more nuanced than what I was already expecting. So this is not just another Ardbeg. You may not like it. You may disagree with me on the actual on the actual qualities of this whiskey, but you can't deny the fact that this is not a typical Ardbeg, and that's exactly why I like it. Wow. So good nose. I have a slight alcohol burn. I don't know why. It's only 50%, so it shouldn't be doing that. Could be because it's slightly young, but hey. Little buttery here as well, but very faint. Shall we drink it? Let's drink it. All right, chin chin. Yes. Packs a punch, even though it's just at 50%, which I think is amazing. It's very creamy. Thank you, non-chill filtration. Vanilla, ash, dark chocolate. It has bitter coffee, and then with the lemon and lime, back to signature distillery flavors with white and black peppers. Massive finish. Boom, boom. Just everywhere. Staying with me in my mouth, pinging every here. So huge finish. Great mouthfeel. I love it. I absolutely adore it. It is not a typical Ardbeg. I love that about that. And my God, those flavors are just bouncing up and down on my palate. And I think, after a long time, Ardbeg have really hit it out of the park for me, because this is a damn fine whiskey. Not very sweet. Maybe I would have liked it to be a touch sweeter so that it was a little better balanced, but everything else kind of works. That roasted coffee note that just kind of stays and sticks in your mouth, which I really like. The finish is massive. Surprisingly, there's no aniseed on the palate, because there was a lot of it on the nose, none on the palate really. But dude, I think overall a very well constructed whiskey. I like that they're experimenting with different types of barleys. They experimented with the fermentation, with the yeast. I don't know if that was an experiment. I think that was an accident. But with this, it's a very concerted effort to do something different, and they've managed to do something different, and I think they've managed to do something different really well, in my opinion. So, but like I said, for those of you who know me, the taste and smell of an Ardbeg, immediately transports me back to the island, and there I am sitting outside the distillery with my friends talking about life experiences. So obviously, there's a certain amount of endorphins that get released from my brain every time I drink and smell an Ardbeg. My bias aside, I think this is a very well constructed whiskey. It is not phenomenal. It is not like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever tasted, but it holds its own. It has a certain nuance to it that I like. There's no off notes. It's creamy. It's It's with character. It's you know, without any really major flaws, which in my eyes make it make it a good dram. You know, and so well done, Ardbeg. Thank you for not disappointing me, and I really appreciate it. I like the stuff that's coming out of that distillery now. There were a few hits and misses in the last 10 years or so, but I think we finally gotten our act together, and you know, we're churning out absolute corkers. And even while someone might say, hey, well, you know, this is a bit one-dimensional, it's really not, because you have to look for that nuances. And I think this whiskey is for the purist. It's for those who understand and appreciate the Ardbeg offering, and then realize that, oh, they've taken that offering and then they've painted it with a little roasted coffee bitter chocolate nuance that is not normally found in an Ardbeg, and you know, given it an extra layer of complexity. So I appreciate that. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a good Ardbeg. This is not phenomenal Ardbeg, but this is a good Ardbeg. I'll give it a B+. And I think B+ is a good whiskey to drink. It's available. Oh, I don't know if it's available anymore. I bought it for 105 pounds from the distillery site. So that's the price. It is what it is. I don't know whether it's expensive or cheap, but it is what it is. 105 pounds for this Ardbeg. Yes, I know you can get 3 Ardbeg 10s for that price, but but you won't get the Ardcore, which is what we're drinking today. So I like the bottling, cool bottling. I like the little funky spiky ball in your mouth. I like the little Scotty at the back with his mohawk, and you know, it's fun. It makes you smile. It makes you smile, and I think if you're smiling even before you're drinking the whiskey, I think half the battle is already won. So they put me in a good mood. Then they sort of made sure that I didn't get into a bad mood by bottling what I think is a very lovely dram. So there you have it. We finally did it. We managed to get our hands on the Ardcore. We opened it up, we drank it, and we reported it fairly, without any bias to you people. So thank you. Thank you for joining me for this whiskey review. I'm the Malt Activist. I love you. Until next time. Peace.